Thomas Nelson was born in 1780. His parents were farmers. From a very early age, he gained an interest in printing. And his parents sent him to Paternoster Row in London to study. And really, printing in that day was like Silicon Valley. I mean, it was the hot new technology. In 1798, Thomas Nelson started a secondhand bookshop, and it flourished. And he really wanted to make books affordable to the masses. And you have to understand the environment of the day. It was not easy to buy a book. Unless you were wealthy and willing to make an appointment with a bookseller, you really had no access to books. The thing that Thomas Nelson did was he made them affordable and accessible to everyone. Thomas Nelson's vision was to take the classics of English literature, particularly Christian classics, and make them available in an affordable way so that anyone, regardless of their class, could have access to them. And he did that through a variety of methods. The booksellers of the day didn't welcome Thomas Nelson's innovations. They liked having a monopoly, dealing with a very highbrow trade where they dealt with only the wealthy. And when he couldn't sell his books through booksellers, he went around them. He started book fairs in cities and in villages across Scotland and in northern England, and it really turned the world upside down in terms of book selling. It wasn't too long after Thomas Nelson started the company that he brought his two sons, William and Thomas Jr., into the business. William was in charge of sales and marketing. Thomas was in charge of production and the editorial functions. And they really took the business to another level. They were both great leaders. They had ink in their blood. They loved the business, and they really grew it, and it prospered. William invented the rotary press, basically perfected it. Unfortunately, he didn't patent it. But it revolutionized printing. It dramatically brought the cost of printing down, and it truly realized Thomas Nelson's vision to make books affordable to the masses. By 1854, Thomas Nelson was the largest publisher in Scotland. In that same year, it opened offices in New York City. It was the first British publisher to do so. And soon after that, it opened offices really in Northern Europe and around the world. And it was the first truly global publisher. Well, Thomas Nelson and his sons prospered. They weren't immune to hardship. And in fact, in 1878, the expanded Hope Park facility completely burned to the ground. There wasn't a thing left. No furniture, no plates, nothing. And yet, while the building was still smoldering, Thomas Jr. was ordering new equipment. That's how optimistic he was and how much he believed in the mission of Thomas Nelson. Well, eventually, after the fire died down and the workers were able to get back onto the building site, they found some fireproof vaults that had some type and some wood cuts and some old plates. And they were able to get the city of Edinburgh to set up a temporary facility. And then after that, they were able to get some of their competitors to actually let them use their presses to print their books. And literally within 2 months of the fire, Thomas Nelson was fully back in business. Then the company expanded into its new Parkside Terrace facility on the south side of Edinburgh. And they made a very strategic move by printing the King James Version of the Bible. And of course, that's a very big part of our business today, Bible publishing. The company also suffered some significant setbacks in the early 1900s. Tommy Nelson, who was then managing the company, the grandson of Thomas Nelson, was in the front lines of World War I and was tragically killed. His brother Ian took over, who just didn't have the aptitude for leadership and a real passion for publishing, and that really began the long, slow decline of the company. Tragedy once again struck Thomas Nelson in World War II. When the Germans bombed London, they bombed the Thomas Nelson buildings completely to rubble. Nothing was left standing. You know, despite all odds, the company kept going. Still had offices in Edinburgh, still had offices in New York, still had offices in other places around the world, and they eventually rebuilt the office in London. I think in the years following World War II, the company began a long, slow decline. There just wasn't the leadership like there had been in the 19th century. And so the company became smaller and smaller and smaller till it was eventually sold to the Thomson Corporation. Meanwhile, a young Lebanese immigrant was starting a business in Nashville, Tennessee. He started a door-to-door sales business called the National Book Company. Then he decided he wanted to start publishing books so that he could get them at better margins, and so he started Royal Publishers, also located in Nashville, Tennessee. Sam Moore's company, Royal Publishing, published its first Bible in 1963. It doubled its sales every year for the first 5 years. This eventually garnered the attention of Lord Thomson, who was running the Thomson organization and the Thomas Nelson Company. So Lord Thomson went to Sam Moore and made him an offer. asked him to come lead their U.S. operations. Sam Moore, after thinking about it and praying about it, said, "No, I have another proposition. How about if I buy Thomas Nelson from you?" And one of Lord Thompson's aides said, "Mr. Moore, Lord Thompson doesn't sell, he only buys." And Sam Moore replied repeatedly that the Lord has made it so that eventually everyone sells. Sam Moore brought a number of things to the company. Passion, first of all. He had a great desire to grow the business and really to regain Thomas Nelson's former glory. So he started all kinds of book publishing divisions, entered into all kinds of publishing, bought and sold companies, and the company grew dramatically under his leadership. I succeeded Sam Moore in August of 2005 and am currently the company's president and CEO. Today at Thomas Nelson, we have almost 700 employees. We're located in 3 campuses in the United States, 2 in Nashville, Tennessee, and 1 in Dallas, Texas. And we began a couple of years ago to expand internationally. And our strategy was really simple. We said, where is the Holy Spirit working? That's where we want to be. And as a result of that, we've gone to Beijing, China, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and Mexico City, Mexico. And we're not done yet. When most people think of Thomas Nelson, they naturally think of our publishing business. That's what we're the best known for. But today, almost 20% of our total revenue comes from our live events business, which is headquartered in Dallas, Texas. We have 2 primary conferences, Women of Faith and the Revolve Tour, which is a conference for teen girls. In the last 10 years, over 3.5 million women have attended one of our conferences. The exciting thing to me is that over 250,000 of those women have indicated first-time decisions for Christ. Nothing gets me more excited than that. Thomas Nelson left us a tremendous legacy, a legacy that I feel obligated to fulfill. I'm not going to rest until we're at least in the top 3 book publishers in the U.S., and I want to be faithful to the Thomas Nelson legacy and make use of every available technology that we can. Thomas Nelson did it with the Rotary Press. We have an opportunity to do it with digital books, to do it on the internet, but to continue to make our products available in as many forms as possible to reach as many people as possible. I think our best days are ahead.